Did they make
No,
contact?
no. It's pretty close, but this is going to be a drag race.
Right Look there. At this.
Moves him to win it. Carl Edwards bump and dump and run.
Here comes Gordon right up to the bumper again.
You hear that wheel spin, Benny?
Yeah, I did hear that wheel spin.
The bump and run.
There it is.
Gordon underneath to the lead. 2 laps to go.
Didn't mean to really turn around. Meant to ride his cage up.
Yeah, welcome to the Bump and Run podcast. I'm your host, Michael DUI, joined by my two best friends, Matt the Stat Man Reilly and Eric Daytona Ron. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys had a Martin Truex Jr. type of weekend. He was the big winner down at the Federated Auto Parts 400. Salute to first responders on Saturday, September 11th. And what a night it was. Just the pageantry was amazing. But first, we got to address why we're late. It's Wednesday night. Eric had some personal things to take care of earlier on in the week. We try to give you a heads up on the Facebook and Twitter page. That's why you got to follow us on the Facebook page and the Twitter page. Just in case something happens, we got to delay the schedule. We were going to record last night, but we knew that big news was coming today. The 2022 NASCAR schedule was officially released. We're going to break it all down a little bit later on, but first, if you're enjoying the show, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends. And how the hell have you guys been doing? We're a little late. Matt, Daytona Ron, what's going on, brothers? How's it going?
What's up, boys? Doing good. How about you guys?
Not too bad. It's Wednesday. I'm excited to do the podcast. I was itching all day long. But
we're one day. We're actually, we usually do this on Monday nights, so we're technically 2 days closer than we would be to Bristol. Well, actually, you guys are 2 days closer.
Yeah. Matt's got a wedding
Saturday. The weekend I've been dreading is upon us.
Matt's got a wedding on Saturday night. No Bristol spoilers on Twitter at his direction. We gotta keep him in the dark until Sunday morning.
The phone's being shut off. Carmen,
don't text or send anybody any spoilers this week.
Oh, he's spitefully gonna send that text. You know that.
The
Absolutely.
Shut off. I'm shutting it off, and it's not getting turned on. If there's any emergencies in my life, either get a hold of Stephanie or I'll find out on Sunday.
I'll send her a message to update your fantasy team in case someone gets taken out.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Well, we are in a tight battle for second. How about you, Eric? How was your weekend? How's your first couple days of the week?
It was a little rough weekend, powering through. We just setting up here before the show. We had a nice doozy of a thunderstorm come rolling through again.
Oh, yeah, we did.
And, I've been enjoying those. I'm a big thunderstorm fanatic, and we've had some really, really good storms come through our area this year. So I was enjoying that before the show. And, the weekend, I was hurting a little bit during the race on Saturday night, which later on I'll get to the race grades, and it may have affected that or a little bit, but water jug's gone.
Oh, he's back on the
beers, boys. I'm back on the beer.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear. He might not be crisp, but it'll be a little bit more entertaining, maybe. I don't know. We'll see if he goes off the rails later on in the podcast. We might get fired up over the schedule change. I have a feeling we've got some words for NASCAR, but I had a good weekend too. Man, Eric, you're right with these thunderstorms. Just crazy weather all over the country too. We got hurricanes, tropical storms turning into hurricanes overnight. I think Texas got hit with another one. It's supposed to be like a tropical storm turned into a category 1 like 2 days ago, something like that. Crazy weather. I saw. This is weird. Okay, I spent not an hour, but like 45 minutes last night driving around trying to get a perfect picture of the moon. So I was driving. Dude. Did you see the moon last night? It was super low, and it was like a blood orange red. It almost looked like a grapefruit cut in a quarter. And I couldn't get a good picture of it. I saw it as I was driving, and you kind of make a turn, and then I lost it for like blocks and blocks. I kept just driving straight down Route 11, trying to find this moon, and I never got to see it again. But it was absolutely beautiful. I'm sure the weather and the atmosphere had something to do with that. All the craziness going on weather-wise in this fall that still feels like the middle of summer right now. like 80
No, it's
degrees.
brutal.
It
Oh,
was
yeah.
up. It was at 90 today, earlier today, before the storms that rolled through definitely dropped the temperature down, but it was at 90 today. Brutal. I
Yeah.
hate it.
Yeah,
I'm an outdoorsman, and my archery season in Pennsylvania is coming up soon, so that weather the temperature needs to drop quick.
see, I don't mind the heat, but it's a little warm in the studio here at Studio WP over in Pennsylvania here. I got the air conditioner rolling, but I got to keep it down low so it doesn't affect the microphones. You know, it's the struggle, the first world struggles of podcasting at home.
Yeah, PA humidity is what's terrible, man. Like, it could be 70 degrees out and it feels like 1,000,000 degrees just because of the humidity. You sit there, you sweat, you're sticky, no airflow.
Look at this hairball. If you're watching on YouTube, I got a puffy mane because of the humidity. It's all crazy. But
8:30 a.m. I was already dripping with sweat at work today. It was just one of those, late summer, humid, thunderstorm, type of days. And I'm Whitey. I'm in the central air at home here at my house, and I'm feeling good, buddy. Not to rub it in.
I have the AC on too. I'm actually in a hoodie because the AC feels so good.
Man, you're lucky. I'm about to take my pants off. You won't see it on camera though. Don't worry about it. Well, I gotta build a studio at one of your guys' house. We'll keep nice and cool. Eventually we'll get a studio of our own as the podcast grows. That's why you gotta tell your friends, like, share, and subscribe. Let's get this listenership growing, and maybe we could do some expansion in the future. But do you guys want to jump into the past and cover the last week in news?
Yeah, let's do it.
It was kind of a quiet week. Next gen tire testing down in Daytona seemed to have gone well. There was some concerns, like you're just talking about the heat, though. Apparently the exhaust runs right underneath the driver's seat, and it kind of heats up the inside of the cockpit. So they're working on a fix on that. I'm sure they'll get it buttoned up by the time Daytona rolls around. We got a couple months still. We got 5 months till Daytona, so I'm sure they'll figure that out. Cody Ware missed Richmond, and he will miss Bristol after getting carbon monoxide poisoning at Darlington. I don't know what happened. Maybe he lost a crush panel in his car.
That's usually what happens. That's not the first time that I've heard that.
That's always scary. It's a real scary thing.
That's nothing to laugh about.
I think it happened. No, it's not. I think it. I could be wrong. I think I remember it happening to Austin Dillon like a year or two ago.
It did happen to him. He got pretty sick in the car. I think he actually jumped out early.
Yeah.
And I forget who jumped in for him. It might have been like Michael Annette or somebody. It was like,
I think it was Brian Vickers. Wasn't it Brian Vickers?
No, Brian Vickers hasn't raced in years. This was like in 2019 or 2020.
Yeah, this literally happened like a year or two ago.
Oh, okay.
I think it was an Xfinity Series guy. I can't remember exactly who, but like he jumped out, and the Xfinity Series guy was like legitimately the only guy left at the track that would fit in his car. So I thought that actually, I think it might've been like a Ford driver, and they gave him special permission to jump into Chevy because of the circumstances.
Like during the race. Yeah.
Let's see. Chip Ganassi Racing notified the North Carolina Department of Commerce of 55 layoffs following the Phoenix race. Of course, Trackhouse Racing bought the Chip Ganassi operations. They said they've been interviewing staff for possible positions, and they might pick up to 90% of the Ganassi staff. So at least there's some good news there. That's kind of just a technicality type of news story you have to do whenever a business shuts down. You gotta let the Department of Commerce know. Speaking of Xfinity drivers, Justin Allgaier, he's re-signing with JRM. No surprise there. Looks like they might possibly have 5 cars in 2022. I know Noah Gragson re-signed, what was it, last week? I think they're still trying to button up stuff with Michael Annette, and Josh Berry's already set for the year. So they might have a 5th car for that junior single race run, depending if he runs again in 2020.
Well, no, it would be a 6th car.
6th car.
A 6th car. Oh, you want to
juniors one-off?
I always forget. What's the Sam Mayer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's already buttoned up to run the 8 car, I believe. So, yeah, good call. I forgot about that. Man, feel bad. Sorry, Sam. I didn't mean to miss you there. Sheldon Creed moving up. He's been on fire down in the Truck Series the last couple races.
Really like this move.
He's moving up to RCR, baby, in the Xfinity Series. Let's get a great driver in that number 2. Make the number 2 great again in the Xfinity. Let's go for another championship. I would love to see that. So big congratulations to Sheldon Creed, and big congratulations to RCR for signing a great young talent. He won the last 2 truck races, so he's
I
on a
feel like
tear.
Sheldon Creed has been in the Truck Series for like 10 years. I know he hasn't been,
I
but
know,
it's almost like in college football when like a starting quarterback starts like all 4 years. By that 4th year, it just seems like he's been there forever. That's what I feel like with Sheldon Creed in the Truck Series.
Let's see. Hold on.
Are you figuring it out?
I am. I'm trying to look him up real quick to see when his first season was.
Because
Because
you're doing that,
he's not been there as long as Crafton has. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
no, well,
right?
you want to what? I got a pretty cool story involving Matt Crafton for the NASCAR history segment. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Sheldon Creed, he's our defending Truck Series champion, and I mean, there's nothing that is saying that he's not going to win a back-to-back Truck Series championship this year. He's super talented, and he's jumping into a really good opportunity with RCR. So
23 years old. He's been running since 2016. Also, he did a couple one-off seasons in 2016 and 2017, and ran a couple races in 2018. 2019 through 2021 are his only full-time seasons with GMS Racing. But he's been around for a minute now. So I'm excited about the news and the move. I think it's absolutely phenomenal and
well deserved.
Honestly, I've been pretty disappointed in Myatt Snyder this season compared to the season before that. He seemed like a promising young driver. I'm sure he'll land on his feet too. Maybe
you know that's Marty Snyder's son, don't you?
Yep. Oh yeah. Marty Snyder, if you don't know, famous broadcaster, NASCAR broadcaster. Let's see. The big news besides the schedule, 2022, the Clash will be held at the Los Angeles Coliseum 2 weeks before the Daytona 500. February 6th, we'll have a temporary quarter-mile track inside the stadium. It will be the first race held in a stadium and at a 0.25-mile track since 1971 at Bowman Gray Stadium. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And just announced today, 2022 schedule. We'll break that all down after the race news. But do you guys want to run into the NASCAR history?
Yeah, you just teased it about Matty Crafton. Let's hear it.
I can't believe I said that, and I kind of almost led right into it.
I'm pretty sure Matt Crafton was. Yep, he's in here. All right. I could have swore. I forget exactly what I even typed. So NASCAR moving to the LA Coliseum in 2022. But did you guys know that this isn't the first time NASCAR's been in downtown LA? With the coming announcement back in the 90s, NASCAR had the Featherlight Southwest Tour, which was a late model series similar to that served as a feeder series, kind of like the Arkham Menards or the K&N series. And back in 1997, promoter Bill Burke, who also organized the LA Marathon, decided to have a Labor Day street race for vintage cars and exotic antique racing. Vintage racing is a big hobby. Usually it's an old rich guy hobby. They'll buy a classic Paul Newman Nissan and take it out on the track in Fontana.
Mike Joy is big into that.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. It's one of my dreams. Eventually, I would love to have enough money to go vintage racing, throw on a helmet and be a weekend warrior. Someday, fingers crossed. We'll see how the stars aligned. But in 1997, he threw that, and it went to, the money was raised for the Inner City Council for Abused and Neglected Children and the Urban League's automotive training program. So great programs out in Los Angeles that this vintage race brought, and it was very successful. So in 1998, he goes, well, let's try to get NASCAR involved. So on Labor Day weekend in 1998, they ran a street race in front of the LA Coliseum on a 1.1 mile road course. The big story going into the weekend, of course, it's Labor Day weekend, and there was the Southern 500. and they promoted that Mark Martin was going to do double duty. Mark Martin was going to run the Southern 500, then fly out to LA and do this small modified race out in LA. Also, one of my favorite TV shows as a kid, Baywatch, was filming an episode during it that was going to be automotive racing themed. And Mark Martin was actually mentioned in the episode. He was edited in some announcements and stuff. So kind of a cool tie. We know why you
like Baywatch.
You want to know what? Listen, I watched Baywatch before. No.
Yeah, Hasselhoff. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Hasselhoff. No, you want to know what it was? I love Newman, the dude with the mustache. Yeah, this bald guy. I don't know. I thought he was hilarious. I was a little kid. This was way before puberty. I'm sure it did warp my mind just a little bit to the human body, but I was all about the storylines. I cared about Stephanie Holden McNeil, like all those people, you know.
Oh my God, you weren't kidding about being a Baywatch fan.
No, listen, I watched Baywatch in the summer, like it was on Fox 56 at like 11 after the 10 o'clock news. I'd watch it from like 11 until 1 in the morning. And I loved it. I watched it with my grandma. Me and my grandma watched Baywatch together. It was
not ideal. Not ideal.
You probably read the articles too. You're one of those guys.
Absolutely. Hey, you learn a lot of stuff in the articles. There's some great interviews in those magazines.
I read the articles.
Anyways, so the big story was Mark Martin was going to run this race, but not only was Mark Martin going to run this race, but he was going to run it along with Kenny Schrader and Chad Little, who were in the Cup Series at the time, very established names. And then there were some road racing stars that were going to be in there, like Willie T. Ribbs, who retired in the 80s, but came out of retirement to run this road course race. Boris Said, we all know Boris Said, he was running in the race. And as well as some future NASCAR stars just getting their start, such as Ron Hornaday Jr., Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Matt Crafton. They were all
That's four future Hall of Famers. I know. Hornaday is already a Hall of Famer, and the other three are shoo-ins for the Hall of Fame.
And they all raced together outside the LA Coliseum. But apparently, the race was awful. It was dog shit. Mark Martin got taken out on lap 52. Or no, he took the lead at lap 52 and then lost it to a guy named Steve Portenga. I'm sure if you're an old school fan, you probably know that name. 10 laps later, Mark Martin would try to take the lead, but he hit the turn one wall instead and was taken out of the race. Then a little bit later, Willie T. Ribbs found himself running in second when he lost his rear end on lap 56. Kenny Schrader finally made it up to second place until his engine blew on lap 80. Ron Hornaday took over second and lost power during the final restart due to a caution. And Portenga would go on to win, beating Boris Said by 1 second. So all the big names at the time, Kurt Busch seemed to have finished without an issue. Everybody else had issues, though. The race returned in 1999, and the LA Times called it a demolition derby. It was even worse than 1998. By 2000, people lost interest, and the race lost its Ford sponsorship and didn't have the money to continue, so it was a short-lived road course outside the LA Coliseum in the late 90s. I just hope we have better luck at the LA Coliseum coming up in 2022. But I thought that was a pretty interesting story. That was thanks to NASCAR Man, or NASCAR History Man on Twitter. He's fantastic. He wrote that article for Racing Reference, and that's where I got all that information for. But what do you guys think about road street racing outside the LA Coliseum? It kind of makes me worry about that Chicago street race idea that's been floating around.
You know, I tuned in a little bit to the idea of change and new and the whole let's try to get eyes to the sport thing, because I was tunnel vision as far as the sport goes and where I wanted it and what I thought the sport was. And, you have to change and you have to think with an open mind. But, it appears to me that NASCAR obviously has always been trying to do something new and kind of weird, if you want to call it that. And, from what Clint Boyer, I know it was only Sim, but he said they're going to need to bring 5 cars to this race.
Oh yeah.
And when he was driving around there, Reddick actually seemed to not be too bad. He was kind of managing it, pretty well. But Boyer saying that and then kind of struggling, and the new car unveil.
Yeah.
Is it worth the demolition derby for the first race with that new car?
For the listener at home, Eric's referring to Race Hub when they announced that the Clash would be going to the LA Coliseum. They had some iRacing set up. Apparently the course was helped designed by iRacing and Tyler Reddick, Clint Boyer, and who's the other? And Jamie McMurray. They all were taking some laps and demonstrating the new layout and the course. So
like you said, though, like it's the first time we're going to, pretty much, what did you say, Whitey, a 0.25 mile racetrack, quarter mile?
Yeah, quarter mile track.
That's, even back then it was demolition here, demolition there, and this, it seems like it might possibly be the same. But I have the only hope that I have is the caliber of our racers in these cars
so
today
much higher.
It's so much higher, and it's going to be fun. I think I'm excited. It's change. It's something new. Why not? It's an exhibition race. Don't get,
And that's what I was going to say. It's an exhibition race. We should be able to have a little fun with it. And the Clash at Daytona, it's a wreck fest anyways. So
yeah. Do we know what the parameters of the Clash are going to be like? Like what are the qualifications? Because it started years and years and years ago was just whoever got the pole from the previous years who ran the Clash, and obviously that changed over the last several years.
I'm
just previous race winners, previous Clash winners, and champions.
I'm assuming that's what it is. Busch Pole Award winners, race winners from the year before, and whatnot. So
in past champions,
I think.
Champions. Yeah. Okay.
So it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I've come around to it.
Yeah. Because when I saw it was going to be a quarter mile track, I was like, how the hell are we going to get 40 cars out there?
No way.
But it's going to be like 15 or 20. It's not going to be.
Yeah. It should be interesting, and people love short tracks. We're giving the people what they want.
You know what else it might be too is because they're flipping Auto Club Speedway into a short track after next season. Maybe this is just kind of to test the waters out there in the LA area, because Auto Club is right outside of LA. It's the same market, so maybe it's like you just said, give the people a taste of what it's going to be like.
Plus, for people that don't know, the Super Bowl is going to be in LA this year, and we're going to do the Clash a week before the Super Bowl. So I'm sure there's going to be some sort of cross collaborations between the sports and personalities coming out. A lot of football players seem to be really getting into the NASCAR sport lately, which is great to see. And plus celebrities. I mean, celebrities love an event, and this is definitely going to be an event. So we'll look forward to seeing it, and we hope it's a success, unlike that race back in the 90s on the road course outside. Matt, did you have something to say there?
I was just going to say, speaking of the cross promotion between NASCAR and the NFL, I think we'd be remiss in not mentioning Alvin Kamara's visor.
Oh yeah,
about that. Yeah, it was so sick. If nobody saw it, go ahead and Google Alvin Kamara, running back from the New Orleans Saints, visor on his helmet had like a little hieroglyphic of the NASCAR emblem. It was nasty.
Now, didn't he just get hired as some sort of
Yes.
Yep, like a NASCAR brand ambassador and stuff.
Yep,
I wonder
exactly
if that's part of it all.
I'm sure it is.
That's actually kind of genius, because you want to know what? Yeah. I didn't even I forgot about the connection. I just saw the picture like everybody else on Twitter and stuff. I'm like, man, that's really badass. So pretty cool to think it outside the box, trying to get the word out on NASCAR racing, just like we're trying to get the word out on this podcast. Tell all of your friends. But do you guys want to jump right into the NASCAR racing weekend down in Richmond? I guess we'll make it real quick.
We have to.
Yeah, I guess so. We might as well. Noah Gragson winning back-to-back races in the Xfinity Series. Big congratulations to our buddy Justin Pearson. Oh, he was real happy about that. Big Noah Gragson fan. Collecting those playoff points. Can't deny it. you know, I've been very critical of Noah in the past, but you want to know what? He's racing well. Maybe he just needed a little bit of time this year to develop. So we'll see what happens in the rest of the playoffs for the Xfinity Series. Cup race. Martin Lee Truex Jr. won. No surprise there. He's been very great at road courses. He's been very great at short tracks with this low downforce, high horsepower package. And Eric, I think I believe you picked him to win on fantasy. Man, I was close with Christopher Bell there. Well, I'll talk about him in a minute, but you guys want to give our race grades and checkers and wreckers?
Yeah.
I got the highlights. We had 5 caution flags for 30 laps, 21 lead changes among 8 different drivers, 9 cars on the lead lap to finish. Your top 5 was Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, and Joey Logano rounding out the top 5 down in Richmond. And Matt, let's give you the race grade. What was your race grade this weekend?
It was a D for me.
Okay.
It was very underwhelming.
Yeah.
Which kind of seems to be the story with Richmond anymore. Richmond kind of has like a weird complex going where it's classified as a short track because it is one, but it kind of races like an intermediate mile and a half track.
Yeah.
The problem is it doesn't give us the exciting, bump and run action that you see at short tracks like Bristol and Martinsville. Nothing. If it wasn't for the beer that I was drinking, the alcohol that I was consuming, I probably wouldn't have been nearly as excited as I was to watch that race.
No.
I just didn't enjoy it. I don't know. I get tricked by Richmond too. Every time we go back to Richmond, I'm like, oh, a short track. Yes, this is going to be exciting. And then I think about it. And Whitey, you even mentioned it to us last week in our text message group leading into it of how it doesn't move the needle for you.
No.
And you were right. I mean, you nailed it. It just didn't do anything for me. There wasn't great passing. There wasn't a lot of action. I can't honestly think of I don't know, any big news that came from that race other than Martin Truex Jr. won.
Yeah, it was a real lackluster race.
When only 9 cars finish on the lead lap, that's not fun for me. So I gave it a D. I hate doing that. I think it's probably only the second or third D I've given this year, but it was a sucky race for sure.
All right, Erica, what did you think about the Richmond race?
I gave it a C+. This was a race where it was all pitch strategy, long runs, and managing your equipment. And it was more of a race where you trusted your crew chief on when he was going to bring you down pit road.
Mm-hmm.
You had to rely on your pit crew to make those stops because you knew it was going to be long green flag runs, which kind of makes those green flag pit stops that much more
crucial.
Important.
Yeah.
And, I can appreciate those type of races. Not every race is going to be side by side and ton of restarts and a ton of action and, multiple lanes where passing could happen all the time. That's why we go to different racetracks. That's why in football, they play on the same field and every, measurement is the same. In NASCAR, we have different tracks because they produce different types of racing.
Yeah.
And, I think in today's sports world, everybody wants that exciting super speedway reaction from every race.
Yeah.
And you're just not going to get that. And I think this pleases a lot of the older fans, particularly like the 90s. It felt like a 90s era race where, it was in the driver's hands. And that's what you hear people bitching about on Twitter. Oh, I want to see it in the driver's hands. And, screw this and that. And, it kind of, it was a little bit for the people that want to complain on one end and, the other people complain about it that were complaining about a different type of race.
I thought it was funny and I'm guilty of this. I go, well, there you go. All you old school fans. That's the race you've been asking for with 9 cars on the lead lap and stuff. Best car won, but like, I can see both points. I really do.
Right. You kind of just have to, once you know it's going to be that type of race, change your mentality and your mindset and look at it differently. And I tend to be able to do that. I said I was under the weather on Saturday night, so it kind of, I wasn't able to focus on that. I needed that excitement, like Matt's saying. I needed the side-by-side. I needed the restarts. To keep me in it for the way I was feeling, I needed that type of race.
Yeah.
If I wasn't under the weather and if I was more in tune to the race and focused on it, I honestly would have given it a B. Because I do like the fact that those long green runs, your crew chief over a duration of a 400, mile race, you have to go and make those swings in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you go wrong, now guess what? Now you have to go back and start over again and make the right correction over. So like there is a masterful, beautiful sense to the crew chief and the strategy of a race like that, which I could get into, just not this past weekend for the way I was feeling. But overall, it just was what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I kind of liken it to the Coke 600, where it was a race where you really didn't have to pay much attention to because there wasn't a whole lot of action going on. I think if we were all together in the garage and drinking and having a good time, we'd have a different outlook on the race. Even I heard the same from people that went to the race in person. They saw some really good battles in the middle of the pack and stuff, and they liked what they saw. I was actually on the fence Saturday morning thinking like, oh, should I drive down and see? It's only a couple hour drive from Pennsylvania. I've never been to a playoff race before. I've never been to a night race besides Daytona before. Like, of course the 500 always kind of goes into the night. And I'm kind of glad I didn't. I gave the spring race a C, and I'm giving this one a C. I wasn't personally into it very much. That could have had something to do with my driver. He wasn't performing very well at all. He finished 2 laps down, which he was in like 15th too, which isn't even crazy. Like 2 laps down and 15th. I'm like, what are you doing? There just wasn't a lot of cautions to kind of bunch the field back up. We had really long green flag runs, which at certain tracks I enjoy. I like long green flag runs at Pocono. I like them at road courses and stuff. And I even like them at Charlotte at the 600 and you get that fuel strategy. But I feel like there's not a whole lot of fuel strategy at Richmond. Like you said, though, it is, you gotta keep your tires clean, and maybe I was just
track. I think like you're saying at a short track, you don't want a long green flag run.
Because
you want action.
Exactly.
You're going to a short track. You want action. I remember texting Jay, oh, I can't wait. Saturday night, short track racing under the lights. Can't wait. I was actually pumped for the race. And then, when the product isn't there for what I wanted to see out of a short track, like Matt had said, like it's not the same type of racing you get at a Bristol or a Martinsville. It's just not.
It's like a short track in name only,
Right.
It's like a technicality.
I think I narrowed it down to why I had given it such a harsh grade. So I was looking, first of all, kind of like Eric just said, I get excited for short track racing because I love short track racing.
Yeah.
And it just didn't live up to the short track hype. So that kind of lowered the bar for me. And I'm also looking too, and I think this is something that's interesting too, is we have been really spoiled with some really, really good racing this year. I'm just looking at my past, we just dropped off Eric there. He'll be back. I'm sure he just got a phone call. There he is. We've been really spoiled with racing. I'm looking at my past grades here, and besides the Indy road course that I gave an A+ to, but then changed to an F, and then New Hampshire that I gave an incomplete to because of everything that happened there.
Yeah.
We have to go all the way back to the Coca-Cola 600 on Memorial Day weekend that I gave anything but a B bracket or A bracket grade to. So we've been really, really blessed with some really, really great races this year. And I think because it was such a dud, I think maybe I'm being a little more harsh than I probably should be with my grade. So I think that's what happened there.
Yeah, I could
see that. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that too. And even like I originally gave it a C-, and Eric kind of talked me into giving it a C in his assessment. So like But you want to know what? I think it's healthy that we're all kind of across the board and we watch the race in different ways this week because a lot of people, like, you can interpret a race differently than other people too. So I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that absolutely loved Richmond and they're like, that was the best race of the year. You know,
Jeff Gluck's poll, was this a good race? It was just around, I don't know the final numbers, but it was just around 50-50. It was like 40 or 53-47 or something like that. So obviously a lot of people, you know, it was a very polarizing race. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people hated it. And then even if you went and looked at the comments, because I think it was Pete Pistone from the Morning Drive asked, what'd you guys think about the race on Twitter?
Yeah.
And I was going through his comments and a lot of people hated it. And then some people were like, it was a really good race. So it's NASCAR super interesting in that way of, it all depends on how you consume it, what you're looking for. I'm sure a lot of Martin Truex Jr. fans voted that, yes, it was a good race, but some other people might not have. So it's always interesting like that.
I've never denied not liking Richmond. I think that was double negative. I don't like Richmond. I don't like it in video games. I don't like watching it on TV. I'm very vocal about it. I feel like I look at Richmond the way a lot of people look at Pocono. Like, we love Pocono because it's in our backyard. We appreciate the style of racing and everything. And I'm sure the people in Virginia absolutely love the race down in Richmond. They appreciate that style of racing. It wasn't for me. But I like that we all kind of have different perspectives on it, though. Eric, you want to give us your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
Yeah, my checkers goes to JGR.
Yeah.
You know, he just came out swinging.
Yep.
They were one speeding penalty away from that 18 car from going 1, 2, 3, 4. I think if Kyle doesn't have that speeding penalty at the end of that race, I think the race ending is actually much, much better than it was and might actually have saved the race for fans that wanted to see a little bit more excitement, because I do think Kyle was the only one within that, 2 seconds, second and a half, you know what I mean, where he could have battled and had a fast enough car to make it interesting at the end. I know Denny, if he had about 10, 12 more laps, he could have made it interesting, but JGR just came out swinging. A Hendrick, I said, I wrecked them last week for being the dominant team coming in and flopping, and JGR just taking advantage of Hendrick slipping up, and they just stepped up, and every single one of those cars, Whitey, like you said, Christopher Bell had a hell of a race. Obviously Denny was looking to go back to back, and I just think JGR is just they're a team that you always have to watch out for, but they kind of went under the radar this year because Hendrick kind of overshadowed them a little bit.
Yeah.
Now those roles have completely flip-flopped, and JGR is, man, they are on fire right now.
Yeah, it was definitely mostly the Gibbs show on Saturday night. And I thought it was pretty interesting. A couple of weeks ago on the Morning Drive, they had the president of TRD, Toyota Racing Development. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but he said he thinks
David Wilson.
David Wilson. Yeah, it was. He goes, Gibbs is going to sweep the first round of the playoffs, and they're one race away from doing just that. And we're going to another short track where they very well could and probably will do just that and sweep the playoffs, at least the first round of the playoffs. So I thought that was really interesting. How about your records? What was your records for the weekend?
My records goes to my boy Willie B.
Yeah.
Under pressure, needed to have a solid day after the hiccups that they had in Darlington.
Yeah.
I was high on him early and often during the regular season because he was running absolutely phenomenal. It looked like he was going to take that next step and be one of the top contenders and really solidify his role in that 24 car at Hendricks and really, complete that team.
Yeah.
And he struggled as of late leading into the playoffs, which I thought was a good thing. I thought, get it out of the way, get it out of your system, come into the playoffs and turn it around.
Yeah.
And you know what? He just couldn't get it done. struggled in the first 2 races. And right now it looks like there could be 1 or 2 Hendrick cars that do not make it out of the first round.
Yeah, him and Bowman are in dicey waters right now.
If you go back a couple of weeks ago, not to toot my own horn, but
I did want to look up. Give yourself a little pat on the back.
I did call William Byron being knocked out in the first round.
Yeah.
Let's see. I just pulled up mine. I thought McDowell, Bell, Eric Almirola, and Reddick would be out in the first round. And so far, Eric Almirola really running well. Christopher Bell, I thought was going to be a toss-up. I did not expect this from Hendrick with Alex Bowman and William Byron. I really thought they were going to be solid, at least into the round of 12. But at the same time, we could just... The thing is, Chevy's really good at that high downforce package. So far, the 2 races and the 3rd race, they're all that low downforce package, and that's where Ford and Gibbs really make their way through. So it just could be just an unfortunate circumstance of the way the playoffs lined up track-wise. And it is unfortunate because, like you, Eric, I thought William Byron was really getting into his own this year. And I still think he will. I think he'll have a successful end of the season. Even if he's not in the playoffs, I think he's still going to keep running well. I think it's just really track dependent because even we saw, Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott struggle a little bit this weekend too. So it's kind of a Chevy thing right now. I mean, look at the top 5. It was all Toyotas and Fords. So, oh no, sorry. Chase had the 4th place spot, but still, How about you, Matt? What's your checkers and wreckers for the weekend?
Yeah, so my checkers has to go to the 9/11 salute to the first responders on that pace lap before the race.
Yeah.
If you didn't see it, they had the fire truck and a few cop cars pacing the field there with their sirens going and the lights on. And everyone in the crowd was waving their little American flags. And then that USA chant started, and it just like the goosebumps that came over me was amazing. It brought me back kind of, we're all old enough to remember 9/11 and the days and months, that followed that day.
Yeah.
And it kind of brought me back to the days and weeks following 9/11 when this country kind of came together and we weren't fighting over political opinions. And all that mattered was that we were all Americans.
Yeah.
And for that, for that small little 2 or 3 minute window where NASCAR had that tribute to them, I felt that again. And it was good to feel, especially with how divided this country's been. And I don't want to get political or anything like that, but it was just a really, really nice moment that I think we all needed. Even though it might have only lasted a few minutes. So I had to give my checkers to that moment. Well done by NASCAR once again. And
NASCAR always knocks it out of the park when it comes to the patriotism and stuff like that. So
You know what? I will say too to that, Matt. I thought I watched the pre-race before, and I thought NASCAR absolutely hit a home run with their coverage and their, remembrance of, everybody that, lost their lives that day. And, there were, I'd say 3 or 4 times that I got choked up watching the pre-race. And then, I then watched NFL Sunday, and I'll tell you what, man, NASCAR blew everybody out of the water. Like NFL could not even hold anything to NASCAR when it came to, their, I want to call it a verdict. I don't want to talk about the scenario like that, but like they didn't even come close to the way NASCAR and the patriotism and what the production that NASCAR put into that versus the NFL. It was night and day, man.
Absolutely.
Like watching what NASCAR did to watch what NFL did. I am proud to be a fan of this sport.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said.
I tell you what, too, just remembrance like that. You talked about goosebumps and stuff. That stuff really gives me chills. There's a great documentary on Netflix about all the events leading up to and after 9/11. And the second episode really focuses on all the footage and everything. And it still gives me chills watching that stuff. It's like It's like, I kind of wonder, do we as a generation have like a slight PTSD from watching that as children? Because like we were all pretty young. I mean, I was in 7th grade. You guys were in 6th grade when it happened, and I don't think you really realize the scope of those things until you're much older. And but just seeing that footage,
we were at
man,
that right
it's
age
insane.
where, yeah, I mean, we were at that right age though, where, I remember it like it was yesterday, and I don't mean to turn this second into a 9/11 remembrance, but it was, it's forever burned in our memories,
And that's what I'm saying with like the PTSD thing. It's like one of those things where it's such a graphic like memory, it's like,
and it's just nice to, take a pause in between all the entertainment and all the action that we have on the track and on the football field, when it comes around every year. And like you guys said, NASCAR just did a phenomenal job. So I had to give that checkers to them for that. And then for my wreckers, I'm going to make it short and sweet. I love him, fan of his, but I can also be his biggest critic, and he deserves it. I know he rebounded to get a 4th place finish, but the 9 card on pit road all season.
Yeah, man.
The driver, the crew, the crew chief, everyone, all year long. It seems like almost every race something is happening with those guys, and they keep shooting themselves in the foot. He didn't have, I don't think he had a race winning car. He did finish 4th. Like I said, he rebounded after that, but it's every race now, and now we're in the playoffs. Like, you can't be giving up points and stuff like that. And it's just, it sucks. So they have to get that figured out. They have to, especially at a track that we're coming up to at Bristol. You have a problem on pit road, you're going 1, 2, 3 laps down. So you can't make those mistakes.
And if you missed what Matt's talking about, Chase Elliott overshot his pit box. He lined up a little sideways, and then he backed up as they were jacking the car up, caused all sorts of havoc on pit road. And it kind of made me, a couple of weeks ago, I gave him props because they had a similar issue where the jack fell while the tires were still off the car, and Chase was smart enough not to take off. And then you see him flub like that, where that was all on the driver. And I'm like, man, you have such a good move a couple weeks ago to save your pit stop, and then you kind of struggle this week. It's like, it really is an up and down roller coaster for them on pit road.
But I don't know if it's that same stop. I thought that when Chase backed up, I thought that was a smart move by him. Because if he didn't back up and he was in another pit box, that is a race-ending penalty. Yeah. So in his head, I think he's going, "Oh shit! If I gotta back up, I gotta back up." See, and he got tagged by Ross Chastain going into his pit box.
So that probably screwed up him.
That's why he was the way he was. Yeah. Because Chastain came out, he got damage on his car from that pit stop. So I don't want to put it all on him,
Yeah.
Matt, I know he struggled, and that's something that if they don't correct it, it can nip him later on and possibly ruin his
it will nip him later on. Yeah.
That one pit stop with Chastain hitting him and going out, like, I thought it could have been worse. Is kind of
it could have been. It definitely could have been.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. My checkers, gotta give it to Christopher Bell. I picked him last week to be my good dark horse pick for a short track. And you want to know what? I was so happy with a P3 for him. If you've listened to this podcast since the beginning, me and Eric had a very healthy rivalry between drivers, between my driver, Tyler Reddick, his driver, Christopher Bell, in the Xfinity series for years. But you can't deny the kid's talent in the Cup Series. And he's a quiet, good sleeper driver on short tracks. Like, if you look at his record this year, it's all top 5s, top 10s. Like, he's absolutely doing a phenomenal job. I just wish I put some money on him to podium. Cause yeah, man. And you want to know what? You didn't hear his name come up a lot during the broadcast either. So
respect, Whitey. I respect that.
Oh,
respect that, Whitey.
Absolutely.
My wreckers, I mean, I know we said we really didn't like the race, but I didn't have one thing to wreck it on. So I just gave it long green flag runs. Like, that was my wreckers. I wish we had caught a caution later on in the race, maybe got some of those guys who were laps down, maybe they would be able to do something there, you know? I just hate seeing 9 cars on the lead lap. And that, like, I mean, the top 10 driver finished a lap down, which I don't know. I feel like that's kind of embarrassing, you know? Yeah.
See, that to me, that type of race is less on the driver as it is the crew chief, the strategy, and the actual setup of the car. You know what I mean? Like, you could drive the car. Yes, the driver is very important on diagnosing his car.
Yeah.
And people that can diagnose their car to their crew chief the best is going to run the best at a race like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was.
I mean, that's what shot my driver Tyler Reddick in the foot, was just making bad calls early on in adjusting the car. And then they put him behind. They started in the top 10, and by the end of stage 1, with like 3 laps to go, they dropped from, I think, 8th to like 12th, and they never really regained back.
You need those long green flag runs to make that type of race
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm curious to see if it wasn't long green flag runs, like what type of race it would have been.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what you're getting at there. But
I think just for me personally, watching my driver struggle, like he wasn't struggling. Well, no, this is the thing. He struggled in the beginning. They got his car correct, and then he had a top 5 car later on in the race, but he was a lap down, and he would constantly race his way back into the lucky dog position.
Yeah.
He'd be running within the top 10 drivers and passing guys on the lead lap in the top 10, running quick lap times. And they just never caught that caution to get him back on the lead lap. And for me, that was very frustrating to watch all night long. And I'm sure that affected my race grade too. But again, it was just kind of a boring one. So I gave my records to the long green flag runs. Other than that, I don't have much notes to go on besides it was pretty dominant Gibbs night. Hendrick had another rough one with Bowman and Byron finishing outside the top 10. Chase and Larson look good, but not as dominant as they have been, and especially not Larson. He hasn't been as dominant as we're used to in the last couple weeks now. I thought Ross Chastain had another great run, though. I feel like if Ross pointed his way into the playoffs or won his way into the playoffs, he would definitely be in good position for the round of 12, which is something I don't think anyone really saw coming earlier on in the season. With his and Kurt Busch's performance, they really struggled early on. I felt bad for Kurt Busch. Of course, he had that tire go down. They said it wasn't the pit crew. I thought maybe they knocked the valve stem off, and that's what caused it. They said they didn't. They watched the tapes and everything. It was just kind of like a shitty freak accident for Kurt Busch that took him out.
Yeah, they said they saw some threads, which mean they cut it somewhere along the way. They cut
I think it was like debris or he hit something. Yeah.
It could have been a piece of debris on pit road too. Like who knows what happens. But other than that, nothing really stood out. Was there anything that stood out to you guys about this race at all?
No.
I think we covered it.
All right.
I will say this. I think it was this past week or the week before, but he's done it a few times. Dale Jr. is really, really good buddies with ESPN personality Marty Smith.
Yeah.
And whenever he sends it down to pit road to
Marty
Snyder, he's called him like 2 or 3 times. He's accidentally said, okay, we're going to send it down to Marty Smith now. And then Marty Snyder always corrects him. He goes, it's Marty Snyder.
Yeah.
And it's just funny because they're buddies. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know if you guys have caught on.
No,
that,
I noticed that the last 2 weeks too. And I didn't realize he was buddies with Marty Smith. I just chalked it up to
best friends with Marty Smith. Yeah.
I just chalked it up to maybe some concussion debris from years past. You know, I'm like, the junior's not too crisp anymore. You know.
No, he's really close with Marty Smith, so I think that's why his name is so fresh on his mind all the time. And I think he said something even during the broadcast that oh my God, I feel so bad. I keep doing that, but it was funny.
All right, and that pretty much wraps up the race weekend for Richmond. Of course, here on the Bumper Run podcast, we like to highlight the last place driver. Everyone talks about the first place driver, but we like to talk about who came in last. And I just mentioned him. It was Kurt Busch. He was running really strong too until he cut his tire, ended his day still above the cut line in the playoffs. So we'll see what he does come this Saturday down in Bristol. We'll see if he makes it to the round of 12. But we teased it earlier. Before we jump into the Bristol weekend preview, we got to give you the 2022 schedule preview. We got a big shakeup, a lot of crazy stuff happening. I'm excited to talk about it. You guys saw the schedule. I'm just going to go over it really quick. We touched on it earlier. February 6th, the Clash moves to the LA Coliseum. Then 2 weeks later, we're going down to Daytona, baby. Speed Week, the duels. Thursday, February 17th. I love the duel races.
So do I.
I just love the qualifying process of Daytona. It is so fun. I'm looking forward to that. The season hasn't even ended, and I'm already looking forward to Daytona this year, well, in 2022. And then, of course, Sunday, February 20th, the Daytona 500. No conflicts when it comes to Valentine's Day this year, fellas. We are in the good.
Yeah, how about that?
And then we return to the classic West Coast swing. This past year, we didn't get a chance to go to Auto Club, but they're going to be the second race on the schedule, February 27th, followed by Las Vegas, Phoenix. Then we head over to Atlanta. The Circuit of the Americas return March 27th. Then we go to Richmond, April 3rd, followed by Martinsville, Saturday night under the lights at Martinsville. Always love the nighttime spring race at Martinsville. And then Sunday, Easter Sunday, under the lights in Bristol. We're going dirt racing. Yes, the dirt race returns. I'm excited for that. We'll talk about it. And then we go super speedway racing April 24th at Talladega, followed by Dover, May 1st, Darlington. Going to be the throwback track, the throwback race at Darlington, the first race. Then we head down to Kansas. Dorothy's waiting for you guys to come to NASCAR racing in a couple weeks, and she can't wait until 2021 gets here. And then finally, the All-Star race at Texas. It's returning, but it's also returning to the normal date, the week before Memorial Day. Of course, followed by the Coke 600 at Charlotte that next weekend. And then we're going to a new track for Cup. Sunday, June 5th, Pocono spring date off the schedule. We're going to Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway. We'll get your thoughts in just a second, Matt. I see you throwing that thumbs down, though. And then we go down to Wine Country in California for Sonoma. Then we finally get an off week. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 weeks without a break in the schedule. We're going to take a break for Father's Day Sunday, spend some time with your pops. Maybe Matt's going to get his dad a margarita maker from Jimmy Buffett this year. Well, we'll see what happens there. And then the NBC crew takes over. Nashville returns. I'm excited about Nashville returning. Then we head to Road America once again for the July 4th weekend. Then Atlanta after that. New Hampshire, followed by Pocono. We're going back in the summertime, baby. It's going to be a hot one in Pennsylvania. Hope we don't have any thunderstorms. Indy Road Course returns following Pocono, followed by Michigan, Richmond. A second date for Richmond in the regular season, followed by Watkins Glen, and then rounding out the regular season at Daytona. I think it's looking like a pretty good regular season schedule. Then we get into the playoffs, baby. Darlington, of course, Labor Day weekend, Southern 500. You can't beat that. Kansas coming to the first round of the playoffs, getting moved to September 11th. And then Bristol the following weekend. So Richmond and Kansas pretty much swapping dates. Richmond's out of the playoffs. Kansas is, well, they're staying in, but they're going back into a different section. Texas starts the round of 12, followed by Talladega and the Roval. The round of 8 is going to be Las Vegas, Homestead, Miami, and Martinsville. And of course, we end the season at Phoenix. So the highlights for the schedule, we'll go bit by bit. What do you guys think about the Bristol Dirt Race returning This time it's going to be on Easter Sunday night. It seems like NASCAR might have learned from the mistakes this past year with the sun visibility issues. They're going to run it at night. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, we were kind of talking it in a pre-production before we started the podcast here, and my initial thought was, oh, Easter Sunday, you know, we've got family things going on. That kind of stinks. And then Eric sold me. So I'm going to let Eric take over. Maybe he can sell everyone else who doesn't like the Bristol dirt race on Easter Sunday night.
Well, first off, I'll start with they learned to turn it to a night race. You know, we all know what happened during the daytime with the dust and all of that. So, you know, they learned there first off. I don't mind it being this Easter Sunday because, like I explained to Matt earlier, on Thanksgiving, what do you love to do? Watch football. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's the thing. You sit down, you eat, you stuff your face, and you watch football. You know, on Christmas, you know, you have the Christmas NFL. You look for that game, and it's these major holidays. At some of these other sports, NFL mostly takes advantage of people and groups being together and already, you know, out and about and doing things with family and friends. So Easter Sunday, most people are done by 2:00. You know, your belly's full. You've been having a couple glasses of wine with the family. Mm-hmm. What better way to end your Easter Sunday weekend knowing that there is a night race, Bristol, dirt? Come on, it can't get any better than that, you know? And I think they should make it a mandatory thing, make it a staple. So just like the Thanksgiving Day football, you're going to have Easter Sunday NASCAR under the lights, dirt racing at Bristol. That could be a staple for the sport and something that everybody knows is going to happen. So that was my thoughts on it. I think it's going to be a good thing for the sport.
Yeah. Jesus Christ has risen again, but hopefully not. But hopefully not the dust around the dirt track.
I tell you what, I agree with Eric. I think it's a great call, and you make a great point. Your families are all going to be together. And what do you want to watch? You want to watch a regular race, or do you want to watch an event? The Bristol Dirt Race is an event. It's something that you don't have to be a big NASCAR fan to get into. I mean, we're huge NASCAR fans. We do a podcast every week. I think we were more excited during the Bristol Dirt Race than any other race this year when we were texting back and forth. It was just a fun race. Awesome. And that's something you could get someone who might not be into NASCAR to sit down and watch. Like, wait, they're running on dirt? What? I gotta watch this. They're beating and banging. It just gets crazy.
Right, family's already over. What are you watching in there? Oh, come on in.
Yeah.
You know, and oh, this is wild. This is crazy. So yeah, I think it's a good fit.
No, I think you're right. I think it's a fantastic fit for the holiday weekend. And usually people either have Friday or Monday off. Usually I get Monday off, so I'm okay with the Sunday night race. Let's see. The All-Star race returning to Texas. What do you guys think about it returning to Texas?
Well, we all talk shit on it and we actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a hard concept to follow when we were reading it, but once we saw it in person and we saw it happen, it was a good, fun race.
I actually forgot about that until you just mentioned it, how much we actually enjoyed it. If they do the same thing, let's run it back. Yeah, why not?
I wonder if they'll have another performance going to the green. I thought that was really cool at Sammy Hagar. I would like to see someone else, though. We'll see who they could pull this year. And
that was so cool. You tried.
I grew my hair out like him. Yeah. I did. And you want to know what? I haven't driven under 55 ever since. I fly to work through the town. It's insane. I go through every stop sign too. What do you guys think of it going back to the traditional weekend, the weekend before the Coke 600 too? Are you guys glad for that one?
Yeah. Whitey, you said it, you know, before we started recording as well, and I agree. Is that when they moved that to what was it later? I guess it was in the summertime.
Yeah, I think it
kind of threw me off because it's always been, no matter where the race is, you know, it's usually typically at Charlotte, the All-Star race, but it's the All-Star race, and then you go right into Memorial Day weekend, and we're getting back to that. So that's cool.
Yeah, good to see some familiar. I can't say that word. Familiarity as well as something new all at the same time. We got that off weekend for Father's Day between the Fox and NBC switch. NBC is going to be picking things up at Nashville again, and I really liked what they did at Nashville this past year. They made it like an event, kind of like the Daytona 500 for them. They had celebrities and people were excited to go back to Nashville. Nashville, huge tourist town, just a growing tourist city. And I think that one is a great move by NBC to make Nashville their big event and make that their first race of the year. Kind of giving it an identity, you know? What do you guys think? Are you on the same page as me on that one?
Hell yeah. I said I think Nashville should be, I mean, I don't know what the weather is like in early November in Nashville. I'm assuming it's not that bad. I think it should be the championship race just because it's that's where we have our champion ceremony,
The banquet
or banquet award show. So I think it would be cool to have Nashville host the championship, and maybe down the road it will. You never know.
Yeah, if you want to know what, as long as the fans keep showing up, they had strong attendance this past year. I know there was issues with parking and whatnot that eventually got solved. So hopefully they learned from that experience. Again, first time they ran at that track in almost a decade. But yeah, I think as it grows into its own identity, we could possibly see it move to the championship race, and I would be all for it. I thought the racing was great at Nashville this year. Of course, some teams did have some brake issues. But again, that's how it goes when you're trying to learn a new track and stuff. So I think it's a great addition to the schedule. I'm glad to see it come back, and I'm glad that NBC is making it their event. I think that's fantastic. Something I don't know if any of us really like because of what it takes away. We have a new track added to the schedule. Trucks go there every year, but they finally get a cup date. And you want to know what? They do show up there for trucks. The fans at Gateway really do love racing. Unfortunately, it's at the expense of a Pocono spring date. Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway is added for June 5th. Before we get into our thoughts on Pocono, what do you guys think about just the Gateway race coming to the schedule?
I'll start this one. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it a few weeks ago on here about, it might have even been last week, standalone races for some of these trucks in Xfinity series. And I think this was one where trucks, it was a standalone weekend for them.
Yeah.
And I think standalone weekends, they put all the eyes, for that city on that one series. And I think that's a good thing for the trucks and the truck series to have some of these standalone races. And, it kind of takes away from that.
Yeah.
I guess it's a new track. I guess the excitement of how the cars will run there is something to look forward to, I guess, it being a new track. But
yeah,
I don't know, taking away a Pocono, obviously it isn't something that none of us want, but I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I think standalone trucks, it's new. Okay. I get it, but it's not like the dirt race where I'm super pumped to go.
Yeah.
With,
it's the difference between, like, back in the day, we had the dirt race for trucks only. It was special for trucks, and then the Cup picked it up, but it was still a great event where we're like, okay, well, it kind of sucks for the trucks that they don't have the specialness of their standalone dirt race. Now the Cup's doing it. I kind of disagree, though. I think it's different from Worldwide Technology. Those fans showed up because they wanted to hopefully get a Cup date, and they came through and through. They supported the trucks. And now they're getting rewarded for supporting those trucks. I just hope that it's not at the expense of the trucks. We saw it with Iowa where they wanted a Cup race. They didn't get it. So then they stopped coming to the races for the trucks in the Xfinity series.
You make a good point. I didn't think of it in that way. Yeah.
So like you said, it sucks as the specialness. I wish it would stay as a truck race. But I also wouldn't want them to give up on it if they never got a Cup race and then all of a sudden they're taking that track away also. But at the same time, I hope they continue to show up and support the trucks, because I would hate to see them get a sellout crowd for Cup and nobody shows up on Friday night and the truck guys are under the lights racing alone and they're like, hey, like we had a thing here, you know?
If those fans are showing up for trucks, they're going to show up for whatever racing happens there. I mean, not to bring it back to Pocono, but we were all there for that ARCA race.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? There were a ton of people in those grandstands for that ARCA race at Pocono. So, and that's, you could tell those people at Pocono in the grandstands for watching ARCA, those are your race fans, man.
Yeah. They're going to show up every year.
No matter what. Rain, snow, it doesn't matter. They're showing up.
I tell you what, I had so much fun at that ARCA race. Like, I think that Friday night ARCA race is the highlight of the weekend, you know?
I still say that save that happened right in front of us was
amazing.
The best save I've ever seen.
It was
It was incredible.
Especially watching that save on TV the next day, like watching the replay, and we're like, man, he looked even crazier on TV than what we saw in person. How about you, Matt? What do you think about the trucks? Well, not the trucks, the Cup going to Gateway, where once the trucks only ran.
I think it's really cool for the folks out there.
Yeah,
it is. You know, good for them. They're gonna enjoy the hell out of Cup racing for the first time. I do want to say congrats to them, but from a very selfish aspect of it, it stinks.
It's a
because
punch.
I mentioned it earlier in the year when we were talking about the doubleheader. Do we like the doubleheader? Do we want to see it go back to 2 separate race weekends? And I was always saying, you know, as fun as the doubleheader was, I would have loved to see it go to two different race weekends like we traditionally always had.
Yeah,
because I enjoy both aspects of, you know, my wife Steph loves to go to the races, but she's not necessarily a camper, doesn't like doing the whole infield thing.
Yeah.
So I always thought, you know, hey, listen, one race I'll do the whole family deal, and the second race or whatever, vice versa, I can cut loose the boys in the infield for a whole weekend. So now I'm forced to make a decision one way or another. So it stinks. You know, maybe, you know, the three of us can work on Steph the next year or so and try to get her into doing the infield with us. And we
got to rent like an RV. You got to figure out how to rent an RV or something. Get all the creature comforts and you got a nice generator running the AC and you're set. You know,
and it always stunk.
Pocono rents them out. You can go through Pocono and you can rent an
really?
RV.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. We'll figure something out. But another thing too is like, if you have something going on where you can't make it to that one weekend, you always had the second weekend to fall back on. And so we don't really have that insurance plan. I mean, we can always go to a Dover or I don't know, you know, Watkins Glen or Richmond. I know we have a couple tracks that are within a couple hours from us.
What? I was actually just going to bring up Dover. Like I always want to go to the Dover race and something always happens. And so I was like, oh, well, we have the second race in the playoffs that I could look forward to. And then this year we didn't have it. And I'm like, man, it just sucks so much we didn't get to go to Dover in the spring because we were trying to plan something.
Yeah.
And like you just have that one opportunity. So you really have to clear your whole entire schedule nowadays. And
you know,
we sound like such spoiled little brats.
Oh, yeah.
No, we do. We
do.
And I was just...
But it sucks. Like, it's what it is. We know we sound like that, but like,
no.
You know, there's people that are just getting their first Cup race, and here we are.
And it's super
you know
cool
what I mean?
for them. I don't want to take it away from them.
It hurts
it for so long. Yeah, it does hurt when you've been
we can do though, boys. So long. You know what we can do? What we've always been good at is overcoming adversity. The three of us. And so what I'm thinking is, you know, and stay with me here, is we do our Pocono weekend.
Yeah.
But we also have that Watkins Glen race in August. That
we got to make it to Watkins Glen.
Yeah. I mean, the people out in St. Louis, there's not a lot of, I mean, I guess Kansas is relatively close as far as driving distance, but there's not a lot out there. We're lucky enough where we have like 3 or 4 racetracks.
We are a bit spoiled. Yeah.
We can go other places rather than Pocono. So
we can make it work. We can make it work.
It's just one of those things where you're like, oh, well, I don't want to give up my thing. Like, I don't mind when other people have to give up their thing, but I don't want to give up my thing. So I get it. And you want to know what? I think that's the way I have to look at it to kind of ease the wounds of losing that Cup date, because like you said, we had so much fun at the doubleheader. There was such a great turnout. Like, we knew this day was coming eventually. Like, the writing's been on the wall. There's been tracks losing dates for years now. And Pocono, the fans show up. We show up, you know? And I think that's what saved us for this long. And I thought the doubleheader turnout could have saved us for a couple more years. We just have to appreciate the race weekend we have.
I thought Xfinity was going to save us because it's their home racetrack, technically.
Well, here's the thing. We're still going to have 4 races for the weekend. We're going to, I assume we're still going to have a truck race, an Xfinity race, an ARCA race, and a Cup race.
No, we are. So there's going to be 4 races. I got the email from Pocono today that I read.
Yeah.
So it's going to be ARCA, it's going to be trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. So we're still going to have 4 races that weekend.
So it's still going to be a jam-packed weekend. It's going to be worth your time and everything. It stinks that, you know, it just stinks, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, on to the next move. I think this is a great one. Road America staying on the 4th of July weekend. What do you guys think about that?
I am a real American.
I love it.
Well, what you gonna do, brother, when NASCAR, the Cup Series, Xfinity, and trucks come rolling into Road America for you? Sorry.
I knew it. I wanted to get Whitey fired up.
Sorry, the Hulk Hogan impression always it makes me cough afterward. I agree, though. I love the idea of Road America on 4th of July weekend. I didn't like the Indy race on 4th of July weekend. I didn't think it felt as special. I feel like this is special. I feel like it has its own identity already, and I'm glad we're going back. Watkins Glen, going to be the second to last race of the regular season. Now, we saw just the battle this past year with the Indy road course and Daytona and Watkins, and like these road courses kind of being those not so much wild card races, but a chance for maybe a different driver to win their way into the playoffs. What do you think about the season coming down to Watkins Glen and Daytona back to back?
I love it. Watkins Glen, I said it, you know, back when we were reviewing the Watkins Glen race a couple weeks ago. It's a top 5 racetrack for me overall, and it produces so much excitement now that it's the second to last cutoff race. What's the word they use? The penultimate? I can't even say it.
Yeah, penultimate. Yeah.
Race.
It's
of the
second to last
season.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. It really intrigues me. I think that's going to be a lot of fun, especially if we can get up to that race. I think it's going to be a hell of a time.
Yeah, I think we have to. If we can't make it down to Daytona for the season ender, we gotta go up to Watkins Glen. It's only a couple hours away. How about you, Eric? Do you like the move?
Yeah, I mean, I've stated on here before that Watkins is my favorite road course, and it just produces great racing. And you know, like Matt said earlier in the show, we you know, we've gotten spoiled. He's given A's and B's. We've had a lot of quality races leading up to this, and you know, I just think that's a good way. Like, you have Watkins Glen, then you have Daytona, and then you go right into the playoffs. And I think it's going to be a good stretch of just good quality racing leading into the playoffs, and give the playoffs a bit of a good push and start and run into the playoffs. So I'm excited for Watkins before Daytona.
Yeah, it should be a nice, exciting run to the playoffs at the end of the year there. Let's see. Kansas going to be replacing Richmond as the second race in the round of 16. The second race of Richmond date is getting moved to August. I think we could all agree on this one. Great move. Get Richmond out of the playoffs. This past weekend was just not great playoff racing, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yep.
Hopefully Kansas can produce. Also, all of this you have to take with a grain of sand. Like Eric just said, we've been seeing some great racing all season long. We have a new car coming up next year, and we have no idea how it's going to react to these tracks, how it's going to race in a pack or anything like that. I have faith that it's going to be great. I got my fingers crossed that it's going to be as great as this season, but just in case it's not, and they're working out some kinks as they go through, really just appreciate the next couple weeks of the NASCAR season and the playoff races that we have right now. Kansas and Las Vegas will swap dates and lead off the round of 12 and round of 8 respectively. Hopefully that means for some cooler temperatures for our friends out in the desert.
Do you mean Texas and Vegas?
Yeah, Texas.
Oh, did I say Kansas?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
all
I'm
right.
sorry.
Yeah.
No, Texas and Las Vegas are going to be swapping their positions in the round of 12 and the round of 8 that they currently have. Hopefully that'll help out Las Vegas, because that's their big issue when it comes to the playoff races, the heat. That's why they run it near the end of the evening.
Maybe that won't be a 7:30 Sunday night race.
No, well, I think it's still going to be. I think it's still going to be in the evening, but it's going to be. It's going to be in October. So, I think.
Right during Sunday Night Football. Real smart.
Well, I don't care about football, so I don't mind that move. Hey, DVR it. I don't know. I don't know. My favorite move of the schedule, though, Homestead returning to the playoffs. I wish it was the last race of the season. I think it was the perfect season ender, but it's going to be the second race of the round of 8. What do you guys think about Homestead returning to the playoffs?
Love it. Love it. I love that track.
I've always liked Homestead. It puts on, man, this, about a millimeter off the wall?
Oh, yeah.
At all times. Yeah.
Arson's up there running that. Like, man, is that exciting?
I was just going to say that bodes so well for Kyle Larson, having that be in the last round there, before the championship race. Like, that's huge. And Tyler Reddick too, if he can find his way into that. I wish round of 8.
I wish Homestead had 2 races. I wish we had an early race in the spring and one in the playoffs. If any track on the circuit deserves 2 races, it's Homestead Miami Speedway. And like you said, I can't wait to watch Larson and Reddick run that high line to see who could get closest to the line to the wall without knocking it over.
And I'll tell you what, someone else too in the Xfinity series. We rag on him, but Gregson is a hell of a wall rider.
He is. I'll give him his due. Of course, he'll be running in the Xfinity Series again next year. We'll see how he runs with the big boys in Cup when he finally gets up there, though. There's a lot of stiff competition up there. I'm just saying. And of course, Phoenix will retain its season finale. That's the highlights of the schedule, fellas. I can't deny it. I'm loving what I'm seeing. Besides the Pocono race, which hits the heart, I love this schedule. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. I think they did a really good job. Another thing of note too is that they're going from 4 Saturday night races this year down to 3 next year, which it's fine. I mean, it's fine. Those Saturday night races, I like them. Because we can get with the we can get together, cut loose and whatnot on a Saturday night, but there's other opportunities on your Labor Day and your Memorial Day weekends that we can do that. So
we're keeping the traditional night races. We got the Martinsville night race. We got the night races in the playoffs. So
sure. So it's all good.
I noticed there's and I could have counted wrong. 23 different tracks that we go to during the regular season, and 3 of them we repeat: Atlanta, Richmond, and Daytona. I think we could get to a point where the regular season is made up of all different racetracks besides the double Daytona, because there's Talladega and Daytona. So those super speedways, you want that in there.
You have to have
right. So
you gotta have Daytona bookending the season too. I feel like you have to have that.
It's proven that that's amazing.
Yeah.
But that Atlanta and Richmond, where we come back in the regular season twice, we can't find 2 other racetracks to go to make it a completely, we go to a different racetrack. I think we could eventually. And I think that is why they're doing this LA thing, to see if it could work.
Yeah.
To maybe get rid of. I think eventually NASCAR doesn't want any regular season double races.
Dates, yeah.
So playing around, and I think you add 2 more short tracks, like true short track races to the schedule instead of double Atlanta, double Richmond.
Yeah.
I think that would be something that I would look forward to. And in the playoffs, man, there's 10 races in the playoffs, and there's only 2 that we race for the first time, which is the Roval and Miami this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 8 other races, we've been there already. I would like to see the playoffs get some more races that we've never been to. No notes, weren't there all year. Make it a little bit more interesting in the playoffs.
Give
And hear me
Pocono
out
a
here.
playoff race.
Yes.
It's a different type of track.
So I would
I don't
like
think
to
we'll
see.
ever see that.
No, we'll never
We'll
see
never see that.
No.
Right, but instead of Pocono in the heat of July,
Yeah.
why not have it the second playoff race where Kansas is September 11th?
Yeah.
New track. It's a new track to the playoffs. It's the perfect time of the year to run in Pocono, and we wouldn't run there during the regular season. So it checks all the boxes.
Not to mention, if it's September 11th weekend, which I know it's not always going to fall right exactly perfect, but it's the closest track to New York City. We have the biggest, more than half that crowd that comes into Pocono is from New York. So I think that would have a special place. I mean, I think we're onto something here.
Right.
Now,
so I think that would be something I would like to see. And like even, I would even be willing to take out, another race. See, like, I think you keep the Darlington in there because it's one of the crown jewels. I don't mind going back to Darlington tradition. I don't mind going back to Bristol in the playoffs, Martinsville, especially cutoffs, like the cutoff races I love. Bristol, love it. Short, high banks, fast. The Roval, I love it. Road course, changes it up. High speed road course. Then you go to Martinsville, is another cutoff. It's a short track, but it's narrow. It's bumpers.
Yeah.
It's a lot of banging. So, like, I like the cutoff races and those tracks that we go to for a second time in the playoffs. But, man, adding maybe another one of these races where the drivers haven't been there in the regular season to make the playoffs a little bit more difficult, a little bit more interesting, like we touched on in the beginning where Whitey had mentioned, JGR.
Yeah.
They're coming into this first round, and it's their tracks, man. They're favored. So I would like to get some of that favoritism of some of these teams. Like, make everybody, hey, we don't know where we're going to. No one's been here. Nobody. It's the first time we're running here.
I think that's why they put Kansas in that first round next year to kind of break up the similar type tracks, like Darlington and Richmond. They all kind of like the different shapes, but Pocono, they run similar.
Pocono runs like a short track road course.
That's true. It's true.
You know what I mean? Like, there's shifting, there's long backstretch, front stretch, three different turns.
I think the fan base would lose their mind if Pocono was in the playoffs.
So.
It gets so much hate online, though.
No, dude, the last couple Gluck polls have been
great.
Amazing.
We've had great races,
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's been good racing there. I think the drivers that are driving now, because everyone's so much better at road courses, that transitions to Pocono. It directly transitions to Pocono. These guys know how to drive Pocono better now. I don't know. I'm salty over Pocono. This is me coming back to just wanting, like, come on, you're gonna take a date away from me? Now I want a playoff race.
Now I want a playoff race. Like,
take a date away from me. Give me a playoff race now.
You gotta make it equal here. You gotta
right.
No, I get it. I don't know. I mean, we all love Pocono.
That's my tinfoil hat. That's my tinfoil hat wannabe schedule, I guess.
See, in my mind, I would want to drop that second Richmond date or that first Richmond date and put Homestead in there. That way we get Homestead in the regular season, we get Homestead in the playoffs,
Yeah.
I would want to replace that Atlanta date with something else in the playoff, like another playoff track, like
Right. And then that would make an even, that would make it even 25 races that we go to one time in the regular season.
And then you return in the playoffs,
We were even talking about before we started recording as well, is this is all well and fine. And I love my NASCAR, and I'm not going to complain that we have, essentially 3/4 of the year covered here with the schedule. But I also wouldn't mind if the regular season got cut down from 26 to 20 races.
Yeah.
And then we only had 30 total races. That way, the season's a little shorter, which is okay by 6 weeks. We shorten it up by 6 weeks, but it leaves us wanting more come the next season.
Yeah.
It's almost, too much of a good thing is still too much. Like I said, I love the hell out of NASCAR, and I don't really want to see us lose any races, but I'd be okay if we shorten the season by just a little bit too.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I want to see as many weekends as we can. I just wouldn't mind an off weekend here and there. Like maybe every 10 races we have an off weekend. Just let people recharge.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm thinking more along the lines of like, you could, if you shorten the season and you bump it back, then weather's not a factor. You could kind of then you can make the schedule and tracks however you want it at a certain point, weather-wise, then you could really, maybe, well, I guess they already are changing it up quite a bit.
They are. They're like, we're seeing a lot of differences. For years, we like Matt used to say it all the time, like he didn't even have to look at the NASCAR schedule. He knew what race was coming up,
See, I want that, but with the time. 1 o'clock.
Give us a regular start time and make the track wherever.
Right.
I was just gonna say something, and now I'm blanking.
While you're thinking about that, though, Eric, that would work though if you shaved like the first month off, and we started the month in mid-March and then ended it in like mid-October. You're pretty much getting away from a lot of the bad weather.
I'll tell you,
snow and cold and all that, where you can really start playing around with it.
I'll tell you the problem with shortening the season. And I'll tell you the factors that we hate to think about, but TV partners, they dictate a lot of this stuff.
Yep.
And there is something to be said for Fox when the NFL season ends and then the next weekend NASCAR's on Fox. Like that is huge for them. They're not going to want to wait another month to have sports programming on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Same thing with NBC. They don't want to go head to head with football, but they like the lead in to Sunday night football, NBC, in the postseason.
NBC carries, well, I guess that's actually changing this year, but in years past, NBC would carry the NHL playoffs, and the NHL playoffs would end right around mid to late June, right when NBC is picking up the NASCAR season.
Exactly.
So the same thing, it kind of played right into it perfectly.
There are a lot of little puzzle pieces that really dictate these things behind the scenes that we're not even privy to.
Sure.
But like earlier on, if you go to our Twitter from a couple days ago, Bob Pockra schooled us on why the Xfinity Series and Truck Series playoffs don't coincide with the NASCAR Cup Series, and a lot of it has to do with sanction fees and tracks and TV partners. TV partners is a big one.
A lot of things that like we can complain about until we're blue in the face, but we don't see all the behind the scenes stuff that goes into making these decisions. So
like Pocono might not get a playoff race because the ratings are a fraction smaller than this race that gets better ratings, so we're putting that in the playoffs. It's one of those deals. There's a lot of little moving pieces, unfortunately, that it's not as simple as we would like it to be, but it's fun to play. It's fun to play the Stat Man, Matt, and do our own little fantasy lineups and stuff. I would love to see Pocono in the playoffs. I just don't. I don't think.
Amazing.
I don't think a lot of
love
other
to see
people.
A night race at Pocono. I know we talked about that. This is a one-off.
You want to what?
But I mean, they have the solar panels up there.
Yeah.
They've lit up Daytona, so it's not a size thing. I would love to have a night race at Pocono, but again, that's us being hometown bias there.
See, I don't want to see a night race. I would like lights to be there just in case they have to with weather and everything.
Right. Lights would have saved so many race weekends at Pocono. It's unbelievable. Just knowing and having that cushion to call a race and say, like, you know what, we could get those Air Titans out there because we have lights. It ain't going to matter. Lights would have saved a bunch of race weekends up there for us for sure.
But from a personal standpoint, like, I don't need a whole lot of night races. I need Daytona night race at the end of the season. I need Bristol night race, and I need a Martinsville night race, and that's all I need. That's it. Like, I mean, it looks cool. I like the glowing rotors and stuff, but sometimes you overdo it where you're like, oh, it loses its specialness. And I think we hit that point a little bit ago where we're having too many night races and it lacked that uniqueness. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Now, another question. What would you guys think about the championship race being at a Bristol or a Martinsville, like a short track like that?
I would love it. Yeah, absolutely.
Be absolutely phenomenal. Like, I would, because, okay, Phoenix, man, I would rather see it go back to the South where everything started back down there at Homestead.
Yeah.
Or if they want to go West Coast and to change it up, like you said, Whitey, give me Vegas.
Yeah. I would love to see it change every year, to be honest with you.
Right.
Or
like I said, I think this whole LA Coliseum thing is a very good experiment that they're doing to see how small of a short track they could go.
Yeah.
The smaller the short track, the easier, the less money it is to probably build.
That's
to
true.
Probably remodel a track that's already there that has infrastructure in place that they could kind of just mold
like a
around.
Chicagoland.
Yeah, like I think something like that, and like what to Matt's point, like we were talking about, if you shorten the schedule, weather-wise doesn't matter. Could you imagine Bristol being the championship race?
That'd be amazing.
Don't forget, though, I mean, they're turning Auto Club into a short track, so don't be surprised if down the road they put that championship race out in LA and we get that short track
and
championship.
Like the weather would be right,
Love that, yes.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's it for the NASCAR schedule. We're getting near the end of the show, and I don't want to run out of time. We'll do the pick lanes for next week. Well, I'll give you a little tease. Maybe you guys can mold them over. This is one Eric gave me last week, and we never got to it. Non-playoff drivers racing hard in the playoffs for the win. Do you like it? Do you think they should give them the pass? We'll talk about it next week. Tony Stewart says his biggest regret was not being able to get Kyle Larson. Do you think we would see the performance out of Larson at Stewart-Haas that we're seeing now? Or do you think he'd kind of run where he was at Ganassi in the past? We'll talk about that next week. But we got to get to what's going on this Saturday. It's Bristol, baby. Thursday night under the lights. Tomorrow night under the lights. Trucks are going to be on FS1 9 p.m. for the Uniho 200. Presented by...
No.
I don't know.
Udaho, Whitey.
Wow.
Udaho.
Third grade joke right there. I felt like I was at the lunchroom in elementary school and Matt moved to town and he's picking fights with people already. Presented by Ohio Logistics. Friday night, 7:30, NBCSN Xfinity is going to be on track for the Food City 300. And Saturday night, under the lights of Bristol, 7:30, NBCSN Cup is running the Bass Pro Shops night race. Your top 10 going to be Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin. Row number 2 is going to be Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell in row number 3. Row number 4, Ryan Blaney and Kevin Harvick. And rounding out your top 10 in 9th place is going to be Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski starting in 10th for the Bristol night race this Saturday. To review our picks, we were super tight in points, me and you, Matt. You lost. You picked Kyle Busch. He got you 37 points. I picked Christopher Bell. Didn't get a whole lot of stage points, but he got some nice points at the end. He got me 39 points. And Eric, Daytona Ron, picking the race winner with Martin Truex Jr. He got you 51 points.
Let's go.
Making up some ground in the total points. Right now, I'm in first with 984. Eric's in second with 897. And Matt is in third with 819. So Matt's got some catching up to do. If you're picking my picks,
I think mathematically, like, I am absolutely eliminated from this.
I don't know. I think you can still make it up if I crash out and in 2 races and you pick a race winner back to back. That's like 100 some points right there. You could be back in this in no time. But that means Eric picks last, I pick second, and Matt picks first. But before he picks, Matt, you got to give us those stats. Give us those Bristol numbers we need to win our fantasy, our daily fantasy, and our daily betting.
Yeah, so pick some good stats because you know how long it takes a certain somebody to pick his driver.
Yeah, and I got no idea this week, so I need all the info
I'm gonna have to leave for the wedding right after he picks.
All right.
So we got the last 4 races, not including the Bristol dirt race from earlier this season. Going back all the way to the spring of 2019, our winners where it was 1 KFB. Kyle frickin' Busch. And then in the playoff race in 19, it was Dennis Hamlin. And then spring of 2020, it was Brad Keselowski, followed by Harvick in the playoff race of last year. Laps led, Kyle, again, dominant, 360 laps led here in the last 4 races. Brad, 328 laps led, and then everyone else was in the mid 200s or less. And then our favorite stat, the top 5 in points accrued over the last 4 races at Bristol. Kyle, again, 184 points accrued. Chase Elliott with 156. Kurt Busch with 143. Logano with 136. And then Brad with 131. Those are your stats.
Interesting.
All right, who's first?
So I guess I'm first.
Yeah,
I'm
going
to go back to back weeks with the guy. I just keep thinking he's going to win and something ends up happening where he doesn't. But I mean, Kyle is so freaking dominant here. You got to go with KFB. I'm going with Kyle frickin' Busch.
All right. That means I'm second. I am going in a different direction. He came in 5th this past week. He runs really well at short tracks. Ford overall has run well at these low downforce races.
Oh, you fucking do it on me, you son of a bitch.
I'm picking Joey Logano.
Oh, come on. I hate Wisconsin. I wanted him this week. Right? You do that? You never know what you're going to pick.
I'm sorry.
Never do. Come on.
I'm sorry. I just,
me for a loop.
I think he's due for a win.
I know he's quiet. Every time it goes quiet on Joey, I'm just like, oh, he's got to do something here.
He's starting in the second row.
Son of a bitch.
He's in 4th place in points right now. I don't think a lot of people realize that.
I'm going to go with, gosh, I just know he's going to run there. I just know he's going to run well. They've been dominant. I'm going to go with Martin Truex Jr. again. I'm going to go back-to-back MTJ.
I mean, I think it's a great pick. I think he could get it done.
I think Gibbs is on fire. I think starting, he's definitely starting up front. And, I just think, how do you not go JGR? I want to go Chase.
Yeah.
But Hendrick and their struggles, and like Matt said, pit road and Bristol pit road, sketchy as hell. So, I don't know. I want to go with someone that's going to be up front, maybe get me some points a little bit. So
I can't believe we left James Davison out there on the table.
Honestly, I actually
this week. I think Denny's going to have issues. I think he's going to do something stupid because he already has that win. And sometimes when a guy already has a win, they tend to take gambles and risks.
Oh, Eric, James Davison. He's starting in the back for Rick Ware Racing.
I was being a jerk off.
Yeah.
Not James Dennis.
I thought he said James Dennis.
No, James Davis. That's really funny, though.
James Dennis for the last 14 weeks.
That's true.
You know what? It's the beer. I'm back on the beers, boys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He wouldn't have made that mistake if he was drinking that water jug.
Last week, you would have been good. I actually almost picked Christopher Bell again, which would have kept us all picking the same guys. I wanted to pick someone from JGR. I don't want to go 3 weeks in a row, so I figured I'd be the odd man and pick a Ford. I was going to pick Kevin Harvick.
I was going that way too, Whitey.
I was going Kevin Harvick, and because he's been running pretty well the last couple weeks. I was like, you want to what? Logano's due. Logano's due for one. I think it's going to happen. So far, right now, our playoff picture, Kyle Larson locked himself into the round of 12. He's first in points, 96 points to the good. James Dennis Hamlin locked himself into the round of 12 also. He's in second, 74 points to good. And with Martin Truex Jr.'s win last week, he locked himself into the round of 12. He's in third, 60 points to good. Joey Logano, 40 points to good. Ryan Blaney, 28 points to good. Kevin Harvick right now is in sixth, 25 points to the good. I think, honestly, he's going to have a good weekend this weekend, too. Chase Elliott's in seventh, 19 points to the good. Christopher Bell is in eighth, 17 points to good. Then we got Brad Keselowski in ninth, 13 points to good. Kyle Busch in 10th, 8 points to good. Eric Almirola is 3 points to good in 11th. And Kurt Busch right on that cut line, 0, along with Alex Bowman. He's in 13th with 0 points. So they are battling for that last position. My guy, Tyler Reddick, -5 points to the, 5 points to the bad. William Byron, someone that we all thought was going to be pretty good in the playoffs this year, right now is -18 points, but he's still not out of it. He could win in Bristol this weekend very easily and score himself into that round of 12.
He doesn't even need to win though. Like he could just have great
he could have great
and
luck.
Get a little lucky.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. If any of these playoff drivers, like that's the crazy thing, the last couple of weeks, playoff drivers have not been susceptible to errors and issues on the track. So really we could see anything happen, especially at a track like Bristol. There's some beating and banging. There could be a big wreck in turn 3 coming into turn 4 and take out somebody.
Michael McDowell can win this race for Christ's sakes.
I don't think Michael McDowell can. He is in sixth.
Bristol. He actually runs decent at Bristol.
Yeah,
that wasn't a joke. I was serious. Like, he's gonna probably have to have some things go his way.
I know he is the Daytona 500 champion and the current playoff favorite to win. But right now he's -38 points in 16th. Could he win? Sure, he could. Do I think he's gonna win? I don't think so.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's well, I don't know.
Good one.
If Michael,
he's just in a Reddick. If he gets in a Reddick, doesn't Whitey was just contemplating jumping off the Water Street Bridge.
Yeah, that'd be it.
If Michael McDowell wins in Bristol, well, first put $1 on him just in case. And second, if he wins in Bristol this weekend, I don't want to say I'm going to quit this podcast because I'm not, because you want to know what? That's my luck. He would win. You know, I don't know. Why would you even put that out there, Matt? Like, what are you doing?
I won't know until Sunday.
If Michael McDowell wins on Saturday night, I'm calling the wedding venue, having them bring the DJ over to the phone and having the DJ announce Michael McDowell's win for all to hear.
Fair enough.
We will see who will it be Saturday night under the lights in Bristol. Will it be Joey Logano? Will JGR get a clean sweep of round 12? And will Kyle Busch win his first race of the playoffs? Or will Martin Truex Jr. go back-to-back? We will find out this Saturday night, 7:30 on NBCSN. And we will break it all down for you on Monday night right here on the Bump and Run podcast. For Matt, the Stat Man Reilly, for Eric, Daytona Ron, I'm Michael D. White saying have a good night.
Bump and dump and run.